What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is the Blacklist Season 4, Episode 14, The Architect. So, this is ultimately setting up for the winter finale, which happened this past week, and it's a very good setup for it. I mean, very exciting, and let's talk about, I guess, the Reddington stuff first, because that is, I think, what is going to be leading into next week's episode. So, we see he's questioning Isabella Stone. He gets the information for a bank account that was used to pay her to attack him. And so he goes to question the guy that, is running the bank, I think. And it's kind of vague the way it's all set up, but that's kind of typical for the Blacklist. But he goes, and this guy's having his picture painted by some famous artist and isn't really paying any attention to Reddington. So Reddington threatens the artist, which then causes him to cough up the information, like we're all expecting. But the very interesting thing about it is it turns out to be Reddington's account. Now, what does this mean? Is it Dembe that's doing this? Is it Mr. Kaplan that's doing this? Is it somebody else from Reddington's past that's doing this who has access to his account? It's very interesting, and it sets up for a very interesting whodunit mystery. I don't know, I would be upset if it turned out to be somebody we have no idea who it is. So I'm really hoping it turns out to be somebody we know, because that's really interesting. I was really worried that they were going to find out it was going to be like, I don't know, Liz's account or Cooper's account or something like that. Somebody who it's somebody he knows. But the fact that it turns out to be his account just makes it a little bit more intriguing. Like, what exactly is going on? How could somebody screw him to this level? It's very, very interesting. But like I said, that's going to lead into next week. So looking forward to see where this goes. But as far as this episode goes, it's the setup for it is kind of what I was hoping for. Like I said after last week, Cooper's not happy with Reddington. And just to talk about that really fast, I'm glad that it ended on a note where Cooper still isn't happy with him. I was worried that after all of this, Cooper's going to be like, oh, well, you helped us today, so I'm okay with you now. But he didn't. At the end of it, Reddington's like, oh, I know why you're feeling upset. Your daughter's sick, and I understand how that feels. And Cooper's just like, you're still invading my privacy. This is my family. Stay out of it. And I love the line that he says where he's talking about, what was it? Something along the lines of, you don't know where your selfishness ends and their lives begin. And it's very true. How many times is Reddington trying to help somebody else actually invaded their privacy to help them? Even though in the end, maybe it's what they needed to hear, or maybe it's what they wanted, but ultimately he has to invade their privacy to find that out. And as a criminal, not all of them want him to do that. Obviously, Liz, the possibility of him being his father or being her father, and the closeness that she has with him, obviously she doesn't mind as much. But imagine if he did this to Wrestler. Imagine if he dug into his life and figured something out. He probably would not react okay with it. So I do like the fact that they're pointing that out, and I wonder how far that story is going to go. Is it going to be kind of a self-reflecting thing for Reddington where he realizes the problem that he has? I don't know, but I'm curious to see. But as far as the setup for this, before that conversation happens, Cooper's not happy. He's not happy with the team. He's not happy with the fact that they're helping Reddington without seeing any good results, without doing any good for the world. And so he demands Reddington give him the name of a blacklister. So he gives him the name of the architect. And ultimately, one of the best things about this episode, it's Mr. Data himself. Brent Spiner is the main villain for this one, and he plays a pretty intimidating bad guy. I mean, the architect is somebody who just has everything in order. He times it down to the split second. Everything needs to work out. It almost feels like that one guy from The Flash and Arrow, I want to say Clockmaster was his name? Or no, the Clock King, that was it. Kind of feels very similar, but less goofy. This feels more like he's truly just planned this out detail by detail. Like, he sets this all up very well. It's not as, superhero-y. But anyway, so he sets this whole thing up where he's trying to get this guy out of jail. I really wish we could have learned what his plan was for this guy, because it seemed kind of weird that he just wanted to get this random cop killer out of jail. I don't know. I feel like there was some sort of deeper purpose for this, and we never get to learn what that deeper purpose is. So that's the only problem I have with this story in general. The rest of it, though, is very interesting. Rom has to go get into this hacker collective that they realize the architect is planning to infiltrate. So he gets in there, and then the girl that he was dating, I can't remember her name because honestly, what she meant to a Rom is what I remember more than who she was. I just remember as the hot girl that Rom was dating that turned out to be a spy. I don't really know anything else about her. I don't really remember her name. But she's there. She's apparently been recruited by the NSA to get into this place for some reason. So she and Rom are kind of battling, and then he wins the contest, whatever contest it was. And so in steps the architect with his goons, and then is attacking everybody. And Aram and the girl escape. They're trying to find a way onto the roof to contact the FBI. So they get up there, they contact them, but then Aram gets captured anyway. In steps the FBI, but the architect escapes and has Aram in tow. So now they're trying to track Aram down, but he's having to work for the architect by helping him open up this prison to get the cop killer out. And so ultimately they do, but then Samar and Wrestler show up just in time to save Aram, but the architect is escaping. And this ultimately leads to what is the most interesting part of this episode, and that is Aram takes this gun that they were using to blow up the guard towers and blows up the architect's car. Now, obviously I understand as a tactical move, you can't let the architect escape because he's just going to cause even more trouble. But it is kind of interesting that it was Aram that made the decision to, okay, I'm going to grab this thing and I'm going to blow up his car and kill him. Because that's not normally the Aram decision. That's not what he would instantly think to do, but it was like an instinct for him. Like the very first thing he decides to do is, we can't let him escape, grabs it and sets it up and blows up the car, like just instinctively. That's very interesting. And I wonder if we're going to talk about this more. Obviously, we have that moment where Samar's telling him he did a good job, but he's sitting there thinking, I killed a man today. So we have that little scene. It's kind of a little bit of a cliche, but they sort of skip over it a bit faster than normal. Most of the time, it takes a good talking to before they finally get past it. This time, it seemed like he said that line, then Samar was just like, you did what you had to do, and then out walks the girl that betrayed him, and he hears that she's the one that helped save him, so he goes to say thank you, and she apologizes for it. So we move on to that cliche storyline where she's like, oh, I apologize, and he's asking if any of it was real and all that. But I don't know, I wonder if we're going to talk about the fact that it was his instinct. His very first instinct was not to try to slow him down, not to try to figure out, okay, maybe we can get to him if we get here. His very first instinct was, I need to kill him. I need to kill this guy to make sure he doesn't escape. I want to investigate this more. I want to find out, is Aram changing? Is he becoming a different person? Because this is not the Aram I know. Is being connected to Samar, is being betrayed by this girl, is this affecting them in like a darker way to the point where now, instead of being the cheerful Aram who will, not kill, I won't help you, I won't do this, I won't do... Now all of a sudden it's just like, oh yeah, I need to go kill this guy. He's a little bit different now. And I wonder, I truly do wonder if he's changing as a person in whole, or if this is just one of those split-second decisions. He figured it was the best possible decision, and so that's the only reason behind it. Maybe they won't touch on it, maybe they will. I hope they do, because it really... having somebody like Aram have to kill somebody, it's an interesting story that they could take several different ways. So, I really hope they take it the right way. But that's about it for this episode. Obviously, there's more build-up for the Blacklist redemption with Tom. He's talking to the mother of the guy who said that he killed Tom as a baby. Apparently, she was given a script and some money to force her son to say this stuff about killing Christopher Hargrave. So it's just more build up for the Blacklist redemption. I do like the fact that they are building it up. I do like the fact that we are seeing kind of, I guess, the story behind it. I'm sorry. It is kind of late, so I'm tired. But I guess the big question coming out of this is this what the show's going to be about? Is it going to be about this team figuring out what happened to Christopher Hargrave, figuring out who murdered him, figuring out the answers about who tried to have, or well, not who murdered him, but who wanted him murdered, who wanted him to be dead. I wonder if that's what the show's going to be about, or if there's going to be some other story going on. It feels like that could possibly be the story because Susan Hargrave herself wants to know the answer for it. So yeah, I'm curious to see where that's going. But as far as this show, as far as the Blacklist, that story hasn't really had any, I guess, meaning to the overall story. It's just something that, Liz is doing her job, but she's also having to deal with the fact that Tom is dealing with all of this. So it just adds something else for Liz to deal with. But, it is an interesting setup, so I guess I'm kind of looking forward to see where the Blacklist redemption goes. Obviously, the first episode happened this past week, so I'm looking forward to check that out, but that's about it for this episode. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What did you like and dislike about this episode? Let me know. We can talk about it and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Blacklist reviews, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.